complimentary pair of earrings that is a holiday price. We're at under $110 here. The appraised value was more than double that. Jay, these are huge looks in turquoise.
Okay, they're huge, and these are brand new. Now, even though they've got, okay, this is ceremonial turquoise. So
right here.
This is from the Mineral Park Deposit, Kingman, Arizona. This is Campitos, but it's really a unique material. If you look at these, do you see how they did the outside of these?
Yeah.
Think about the skill level that it takes. These are natural nugget flats. So that is a natural nugget, is what that is. It's just a flat nugget. So think about the creativity of here and really what goes on. Every one of these, okay, so they just took the natural flat nugget. All they did was polish it, buff it out. We buffed it out. And then they have each one of these, talk about individually hand done, handcrafted. Look at the outside of these. This is no mold. There's nothing there. They actually build every single one of these custom for that nugget.
Whoa.
So talk about getting a custom piece. This is it.
Here.
These are brand spanking new. And then I've done the Peridot. But this is Campitos, but these are natural nugget flats. This isn't anything these are natural nuggets. They're natural nuggets, but they were in what they call a seam vein, a flat vein. You don't always see that. These are like, if you could take these and you could just clap them together, if we had a couple pair, and if you ticked them together, you would see what I'm talking about. They'll make like a clicking noise, like a clack, 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 clack. That's because that's how hard that material is. But those are all natural nuggets. But if you just think about it, okay, look at the outside of this, and we'll even look at each ear, right?
Yeah.
You see how they go together, but one's a little bit different than the other one? There's no two of these that'll be identical. So think about the craftsmanship that goes into that. You can't, that's not something that you can cast something for and then you glue it in and pop it in. This is where an artist took silver strip, okay, they took each individual nugget after the lapidars had just cut the flat, and then he polished it up for them, gave it to the silversmith. They took it and for each one of these, they custom built that bezel setting. Then the top portion of this, where it dangles down, that's all custom built out of sterling silver sheet material and genuine peridot that we get out of Brazil.
That's intense.
It is pretty intense, I think. Well, I think it just shows the art of what we do. But look at the presence that you're going to have on this. Now, I will tell you this too, okay?
Okay, 200 left.
Yeah, and they're not oodles and boodles. I think we had like a little over 300 and some odd pairs of these when we started out. They're brand new. We don't have any more of these flats. We did every bit of these that we could. We couldn't even fulfill I think they wanted 500 and some odd pairs, but we couldn't even do that. We didn't have enough material. We didn't have enough nuggets to do them. But when these are gone, they're gone. This is something you won't see again, but I think that's what's kind of like cool about when you see a design like this, because you know that if you get a pair like that, you're never ever gonna see them again. You're not gonna see them on eBay. Even if you bought 6 pairs of these, every one of them, they're gonna be about the same size, but they're all going to be uniquely different in their own right. There's no two of them that can be identical because they're all natural nuggets. They're all natural seam flat nuggets. Sometimes
we see you at the mines and you'll be standing like next to this line of turquoise in the mountain. Is that what you're talking about?
It's what they call, okay, that's a seam vein. Okay. And you actually, so out of the seam veins, you can get like plates. You get all kinds of different things, but in this case, they were nuggets, which is really kind of unusual. But what makes this even more unusual is they're so hard. If I had a pair of these and they weren't on this, you could actually take them and click them together, and you would see what I'm talking about. They're really, really super hard, and that's something you don't see normally when you see these seam flats like this. They're kind of softer, and so they have to cut them down to where they find the hard portions because they'll just break up. But in this case, all of these nuggets were really hard. Again, they wanted over 500 pairs originally, if I remember right. So that would have taken us over 1,000 of these nuggets to be able to do that. We didn't even have that. I think we had a little over 600, so we were able to make a little over 300 pairs. That's all we could do.
I've never seen such a large pair of earrings in turquoise from a single piece of turquoise.
It's a single piece of turquoise, and this is. I get a lot of people that are always telling me, "Look, I want solid turquoise solid nuggets. I don't want anything compressed or anything like that. Even compressed nuggets, even that's not a bad thing." But they say, "I want, you know, turquoise nuggets." And so that's why you're seeing a lot more of what we're doing is we're using, we're using the nuggets. But the thing is to be able to keep the cost down on them.
Yeah.
And the way we did that to keep the cost down on these is, and we got the big pieces, we cut them and lost as little material as possible because they were natural nuggets like this.
Am I wrong that that's the largest nugget I've seen you do in a pair of earrings?
In the pair of earrings, yeah. Maybe we did have some ceremonial plates and things that were big like that. But as far as the sterling silver,
they're a great size.
Bezels and customs,
yeah.
It's the biggest I've ever done using this technology and doing it this way.
Totally custom. The thing is that, Jay, if I wanted this much turquoise in a look, wouldn't it be like a cluster or a mosaic? And it'd be great. But that's a huge solitaire.
All right, so I'll try to explain this and make it not get it too complex.
Thank you so much.
Is because these are nuggets. We didn't have to take a big rough material and cut it.
Right.
When you start cutting it, you lose, just on your initial cut, you lose 70% of your material. So then by doing that, you also have to charge for that, right?
Sure.
So like a pair of earrings like this, let's just say it might take me like half a pound or a quarter of a pound to cut a pair like this. Well, when I've got the natural nuggets like this, I don't have to lose so much. All I'm doing is polishing them up. They're already naturally thin.
Whoa.
They're already a natural, that's what they call them, like a plate
Mother
nugget.
Nature already was...
So she already did that for me.
Did the slicing.
So I didn't lose a bunch of dust on a saw blade.
All right.
Okay?
Okay. Here's what's happening. We have fewer than 100. Now I see that there are 114, 13 on the television screen right now, but I can see also behind the scenes how many people are shopping. So these are going to be selling out shortly. I would love